Hello, I'm Jonasz. Welcome on board the Eastern Express, and as always, I hope you enjoy the journey ahead. On this episode, we're diving into the fascinating, ever so complicated world of BRICS. And no, I'm not referring to your cousin's obsession with building toy castles. BRICS, for the uninitiated, stands for its first member countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. 5 emerging economies that joined forces to try and prove that, actually, who knows why they did that. But hold on to your seat cushions. These 5 countries have apparently realized that 5 is simply not enough. Because guess what? BRICS is expanding. And it's not just adding 1 or 2 fresh faces. It's adding a whopping more and more partner countries into the mix, especially in 2024. So before we see who's behind the more the merrier for this group, let's take a look at the latest country being invited to join.
Russia's influence is spreading. As the West is cracking down on Moscow with further upcoming sanctions, it is hard not to notice the work the Russians and their allies have been doing elsewhere. Thailand is one such example. The country has been accepted to join the BRICS bloc, an alliance in which Russia does have much say. Yet BRICS isn't as much of a monolith as some of its members would like to present it as. There is much internal discord, and each of its leading members, India, China, Russia, and to a lesser extent Brazil, have different ideas for the future of the bloc. In this alliance, surface-level cordiality does little to cover up decades of rivalry. BRICS currently comprises 9 countries. Ethiopia, the UAE, Egypt, and Iran joined earlier this year. Their declared goal is to offer an alternative to what some of their leaders often call the Western order.
Behind the curtain of a rules-based order imposed on the world, there are attempts to curb the rival countries in Africa, Asia and Latin America.
One of the ways to achieve this, which some among the BRICS have floated, is promoting a new global currency as part of a plan to step away from the dollar. US President-elect Donald Trump has already threatened BRICS members with 100% tariffs should they attempt such a move. The stage is set to see whether the BRICS will mind these threats, or whether they will call on Trump to show his hand and go ahead with their idea.
And now, as always, let's take a look at the issue in greater detail. Let's quickly recap what BRICS was meant to do. Originally, the idea was that these large, fast-growing economies would come together to create an alternative world order, one that might gently nudge the West's influence into the passenger seat. Think of it like a group of scrappy upstart business owners deciding to open their own fancy restaurant across the street from the G7's Michelin-starred establishment, offering some new flavors and better deals on the tasting menu. Now, with the addition of 9 and soon more partner countries, you're basically turning that small restaurant into a giant food court featuring cuisine from multiple corners of the world. More guests, more seats, and definitely a possibility for more big players to disagree. The good news, it might mean more variety. The concerning news, it might also mean a lot more arguments in the kitchen. So, which countries are hopping on the BRICS train then? The 4 newest additions are Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates. And then there's apparently many more just waiting to join the fray, like Saudi Arabia, Turkey and now even Thailand. Let's think about the potential for synergy here. Each newcomer has its own reasons for wanting to cozy up to the big table. Some want more financial clout. Others are tired of the existing monetary order that looks at them like an unruly teenager who keeps forgetting to do their chores. And some, let's be honest, just want to join a cool new club. This is basically global high school all over again. You've got the Western popular kids who seem to run the show, and then you have the rest banding together for a shot at the prom royalty. Now, if you're looking at this new supersized BRICS and thinking, wow, that is a lot of people, you're absolutely right. The combined population of these soon-to-be 14 countries is heading toward half the entire planet. If that image alone doesn't blow your mind, consider the economic heft. Collectively, we're talking about an enormous chunk of global GDP. Some estimates put it at nearly a third of the world's economy, or more. and with growth rates in certain BRICS nations that often outpace many Western countries. It is like going from a local bowling league to the World Cup overnight. Suddenly, the entire planet is paying attention. And as we watch BRICS morph into BRICS Plus, let's try to keep our eyes on what matters. Will the supersized club create real opportunities for poorer nations to climb the economic ladder? Or is it just a bigger stage for Russia and China to exert their influence? Are we witnessing a brand new world order in the making? Or is it just a new coat of paint on the same old story? Only time will tell, but for now, let's enjoy the spectacle. And now, here to shed more light on the issue is Lucio Pitlo, president of the Philippine Association for Chinese Studies. Hello and welcome to Eastern Express.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, many European commentators seem to think that the fact that BRICS is expanding automatically means that Putin has more allies. I've seen many such headlines, actually, in newspapers and on websites recently. But is it really the case? Can it be summarized in such a simple manner?
Well, I think that's kind of simplistic. As we all know, the BRICS is more than Russia. There's India, there's China, South Africa, and of course, it's expanding. And of course, the fact that this year's summit of BRICS was held in Kazan, of course, gave Russia, which is increasingly being isolated diplomatically because of the war in Ukraine, that provided them a reprieve. But of course, other countries have also stayed away from joining BRICS because of the situation. And so I think the impression that BRICS is Russia, and of course the timing is of course something that has to be considered in the proper perspective.
So would you say that, in a way, Russia is a bit of an outlier? I mean, Russia isn't even global south geographically, but also when it comes to the economic clout that individual countries have, it's China, India. Russia is not in the at the very top, so to say. So would you say that perhaps the Russian influence is sometimes being overplayed there?
Well, I think before the war in Ukraine, of course, Russia as an emerging economy is there, and it's certainly part of the UN Security Council. So it still has, of course, that clout, although not as much as during the USSR days. But certainly, of course, its influence in certain regions like in Africa, in the CIS, former Soviet countries, in Central Asia, it's still an important player in that space. But of course, the influence of other countries, notably China, is of course far more, ways more than that of Moscow.
And would you say that in terms of mentality, does Russia really fit with the overall mentality of most of the countries within BRICS, countries which want to develop economically, which want an inclusive platform for cooperation? Isn't Russia a bit like that old meme with, an older guy with a skateboard walking up to a group of kids and saying, hello, fellow kids? Isn't that really the case in a way?
Well, certainly, of course, the fact that I think Russia is the only white country, predominantly white country in the BRICS. And of course, the fact that most of the members of BRICS are from the global south, countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And so in a way, the presence of Russia there might be seen from that angle. But at the same time, of course, as an emerging economy and BRICS as a grouping that wanted to have more clout, then I think that the presence of Moscow is seen as crucial. But again, a lot of this have more value before the war in Ukraine, but that development had changed. You have some countries like Saudi Arabia, of course, trying to distance itself, not being too leaning or forthcoming in joining BRICS discussions at the moment. Indonesia, in the past, during the Widodo administration, have also tried to keep at bay relations with BRICS. But as we all know, under the new government of Prabowo, they have become more interested to take part in the BRICS. So, of course, the role of Russia at the present, because of the war in Ukraine and its strained relations with the West, with US and Western European countries, that of course affect the BRICS dynamic. And so some view Russia using BRICS as a way out of its diplomatic isolation, and also to project that it still can punch above its weight and can still have the clout beyond its near, its near environment, which is Eastern Europe and Central Asia.
And do you think that there is a lack of understanding in the West about what BRICS is really about? Some people seem to think like it's a political community, like it's some sort of anti-NATO or anti-European Union. Of course, I am oversimplifying a bit, but isn't it a bit of a problem that sometimes people just automatically assume things without really digging deeper, understanding this is primarily about economy and about development, and that many of the members are not even capable of actually coming to an agreement in terms of major political points?
Agree. So I think that the development right now, because of the war in Ukraine and the way Russia is being seen in the West, of course, that colors perception of BRICS. But at the same time, we have to understand that the BRICS is, in essence, non-ideological. You have India there, the world's largest democracy. You have China, the world's largest single-party dominated polity. Of course, you have Russia there. You have also South Africa. So this year, they have added 4 countries: Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, UAE, and 13 partner countries were also added, including 4 in Southeast Asia. And so we see BRICS in a way framing itself as a platform for global South countries, for emerging and developing countries to find affinity in that group. And so I think for the West to simplify BRICS as a club of authoritarian countries, or at most, a grouping that is dominated by China or by China and Russia, I think that would miss a lot of point, because we see BRICS evolving, expanding not only in terms of geography and membership, but also in the kind of subjects that they are tackling. So in the Kazan summit, there was discussion about an alternative financial payment system, which would rival the SWIFT. Of course, it's still a long shot, but the fact that this is being discussed and countries from the global South expressing interest about this suggests concerns about currency leadership of U.S., the dollar, and the fact that for some countries they view the use of this currency, of course, as the weaponization of financial interdependence, and this kind of sanctions regime. They feel that if their relations with the West also suffer somehow in the future, then they might be put in the same predicament as that of Russia or probably Iran. And so this is why they think that discussions in BRICS about a basket of currencies, aside from grain exchange, a new development bank, so reforms in the global governance institutions, financial and economic, are very important. And so the increasing importance of BRICS suggests that global South countries are looking at this as a potential avenue for them to express their voice in global discourse.
So how do you see the future of cooperation between BRICS, which right now is almost half of the entire world population, and Western countries? Do you think it's likely to evolve into an intelligent cooperation, or is it likely to be conducted more along the lines of economic rivalry? What could be the main points of contention between countries such as the United States or countries of the European Union on the one hand and BRICS countries on the other as time goes by?
Sure. I think BRICS is putting itself in a position that is different from that of G7. So, for instance, they see the G7 as have led the world since the post-war in terms of the architecture for finance and economy. But they countries in the global south have long pushed and advocated for reforms within the system to accommodate the increasing capacity and the relevance of countries in the developing world. But they feel that these calls have, they went unheeded for so long. And then BRICS came along, and they feel that they find more affinity with this grouping. And so I think for G7 countries, for the West, they have to understand that BRICS is coming from that vantage point where they feel that countries in the developing world are not given proper voices in important global issues, like currency stability, and of course grain exchange, and issues like debt, loans, credits, especially for countries in the developing world. So they feel that this has to be pushed strongly, and by working with BRICS, they feel that this might be this can provide them an avenue to reach out to the West, to push the West to make necessary changes in global governance institutions, whether in IMF, World Bank, or in the UN system itself, even WTO.
Lucio Pitlow was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And now we're moving on to Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you absolutely don't want to miss. A leading Russian social media expert says that the online video streaming platform YouTube has practically been blocked in Russia. Traffic on the platform has dropped to just 20% of its normal levels in recent days.
The director of the non-profit Society for the Protection of the Internet, Mikhail Kilmarev, informed about the drop in traffic a few days ago. YouTube traffic in Russia is currently at around a fifth of the level it was before Russian authorities started to slow the service down in July 2024. Anonymous Russian citizens have told Radio Free Europe that YouTube has become borderline unusable for some time now on smartphones. Initially, the app was working very slowly but was still somewhat usable. Yet, in the last several days, some users have reported not being able to open the app. Russian authorities have said that the slowdown on YouTube is the result of Google, YouTube's owner, failing to upgrade equipment that is used to ensure access to Google services across Russia.
Russian authorities labeled a record number of organizations as undesirable in 2024. According to government data cited by the independent Vyorstka news website, 65 organizations have been put on Russia's list of undesirable entities.
The list was introduced in 2015. The Russian Ministry of Justice has been using the undesirable label to target various independent media, opposition groups, and foreign organizations. When one of them is added to the list, they are effectively banned from operating in Russia, and their employees and affiliates are exposed to criminal persecution. In the first 5 years of the list's existence, only a maximum of 4 organizations per year were added to it. Since 2020, however, this number has been rising, and since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the list has been rapidly expanding. The largest share of the groups on the list is associated with political activism and the support for democratic institutions. There are currently 187 organizations labeled as undesirable.
Belarus has been investing heavily into its tourism ties with Russia and other aligned countries. 2024 was a milestone year for Minsk's ambition to grow its tourist sector, as it has expanded available flight connections to several Russian and Uzbek cities.
One of the main motors of Belarus's huge push into tourism is its national carrier, Belavia. It has strategically expanded its offer to include several new connections in Russia, such as the idyllic Makhachkala near the Caspian Sea. Belarusian and Russian tourism operators have been working more closely together this year. This is evident in the wide range of tour packages that both sides have been offering to customers in 2024. Apart from Russia, Belarus has also been focusing more on tours to Uzbekistan. The country's capital of Tashkent has been a target of these efforts, with 5 Belarus-bound planes flying there every week. Samarkand is another top destination. Its expansive offer of spa resorts appeals to both casual tourists and individuals on business trips to the region.
A YouGov poll for The Guardian shows a significant drop across Europe in determination to support Ukraine until its victory. The poll focused on the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Sweden and Denmark.
The survey highlights growing skepticism among Western Europeans when it comes to the war in Ukraine. In Sweden, Denmark and the UK, support remains at a relatively high level at 50%, 40% and 36% respectively. Yet, the share of respondents who favor a negotiated peace between Ukraine and Russia has been growing in countries like Spain, Germany, France and Italy. Many respondents across Western Europe oppose a settlement which would require Ukraine to cede territory to Russia, however. Many also worry that Donald Trump will significantly reduce American support for Ukraine's cause once he takes office in January. Even in Poland, there seems to have been a shift in public opinion, as a CBOS poll showed 55% of respondents favoring an end to the war, even if it meant Ukraine had to cede some territory.
And for this episode of Eastern Express, it's the end of the line. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. Bye for now.